What is going on, everybody? It is the Going Over Big Time podcast. I am Mike, joined once again by my friend and co host, Alan the Cantastic. And today we are here because John Cena's career has come to an end. And today, his in ring career has come to an end. And we are going to discuss everything about his career, um, from the beginning, I guess, to the end as much as we can. And yeah, so I think a lot of people from my generation specifically. I mean, Alan is a couple years older than me, so we're technically part of the same generation. But um, for my generation specifically, if you were watching wrestling nonstop from 2002 on, then you've probably been around for John Cena's entire career, like I have, and I presume Alan has. And yeah, it's I don't. It's weird to think that he's never going to wrestle again, especially considering he is not that old in wrestling terms. Because you still had, Sting was wrestling until he was 63, and you got 50-year-olds out there still doing it, and John Cena is 48, I believe. So I think he just figured it was time to hang it up and call it a career. He's done literally everything there is to do in WWE. There's literally nothing else for him to do. And yeah. So Alan, just your opening thoughts just about John Cena in general.
Um, it's funny because I was reflecting on this year, and I was thinking like if there's listeners out there who's familiar with the concepts in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, there's a race of aliens called the Watchers, and
Mm-hmm.
they show up to witness very significant events throughout human history, and I thought that if the Watcher was a real person, the two things he would show up for this year or would be witnessing Hulk Hogan's death and John Cena's last match and retiring. Because
Yeah.
it's almost like just this year, just those two events, two eras of the industry closing the chapter, right? Hulk Hogan representing the 80s and the rock and wrestling era, and then subsequently some of the WCW Monday Night Wars, and now John Cena. You're right. Apart from a small stint between like a 4 year gap, I've watched John Cena on my TV screen, computer screen, my phone since when he first debuted in like 2002 in WWE, WWF. Um, I first saw him in a magazine. I think it was PWI. To talk about, I think it was the PWI 500, and they talk about this guy called the Prototype. And
Mm-hmm.
I was like, well, this is a cheap ass gimmick. It's like some guy who thinks he's a robot. And like,
Yep.
I looked at him physically and he was like, there's a big jack dude. He's got this chiseled look. I'm like, yeah, I think you're good. He looked like somebody that struck a presence. And, not sure where he was going to end up, you know, and then I heard he was down in OVW, and then wow, I at the time I never really thought much of OVW in a sense, but when you look back at the roster that they were producing, Cena, Randy Orton, Dave Batista, Brock Lesnar, Shelton Benjamin, you know, one of those guys. Well, actually, most of those guys are still act. Most of those guys are still pretty active, but that is like a four of those are like future Hall of Famers, to varying degrees. Um, And yeah, Cena himself, he's definitely be a first ballot Hall of Fame pick for next year's Hall of
Yep.
Fame. Um, but yeah, like looking at back at him just starting off like walking up to Kurt Angle and shouting his name, "I'm John Cena and I represent ruthless aggression," through his rapping era through the
Well, and you mentioned that, like, when he was first coming up in WWE, that his gimmick was that he was just a white meat baby face just
wow,
wore
yeah,
who just wore different colors every week.
the most
And
generic thing,
yeah,
cookie
and
cutter way to
yep,
present yourself.
and it wasn't until he started doing because he's gone on record about this numerous times, and even like Stephanie like
Mhm.
is it played a big role in John Cena not getting fired in 2003 because at that time there was nothing special about him. He was just a big guy with muscles who wore colored tights, and that's it. And then he started rapping like just in his free time, and Stephanie was like, "Why don't you do that on television?" And that probably saved his career. In
It,
like,
it, it did. I believe it did. He's gone on record saying that they told me I was on the chopping block for the next round of cuts, the
yeah,
firings, right?
yeah, and I mean, you imagine if that doesn't happen, and then that Halloween episode in 2003 where he dressed like Vanilla Ice
Hmm.
and started rapping on television, that led to the thing that was literally the thing that made him, which was the Doctor of Thugonomics, John Cena. And he was doing a white guy rapper gimmick, and every week he was coming out wearing a different jersey and just making up raps about his opponents or about the cities, and that got super over even as a heel because he spent most of that gimmick as a heel. And yeah, I mean, obviously he just got super over to the point where it was undeniable.
Hmm.
And once he was ready to get to that uh, upper echelon, I mean, like, of course, he started at WrestleMania 20, winning his first championship, the U.S. title off of Big Show,
Yeah, I
and
remember that. That was a highlight. Looking back at it, that was the first time like a big highlight of John Cena, of, like beating the Big
yeah,
Show,
well, and
right?
that was the first of many
Hmm.
championships that he would go on to win, and then the following year at WrestleMania, later, like just 1 year later, 20, he's winning the U.S. title, and then 21, he was in the final two of the Royal Rumble, and it just so happened that both guys that were in the final two that year would go on to face for both world championships, and he would win his first and then immediately get drafted to Raw.
Mm.
So, like, and at the time, Raw was where you wanted to be, and it was just off to the races from there. And obviously, John Cena got a got a put into this place that he didn't want to be, where everybody was making fun of him for not being creative in the ring, the whole 5 moves of doom thing, because unfortunately, and this is not just a thing that happens to him. This happens to everybody in WWE. You get to a point where you are a company guy, you are the top guy in that company, and you dumb down your in-ring work. That's just what everybody does. Triple H had 4 moves to doom, if you want, like, if you really think about it. Like, it just, that's what would happen to everybody. But it got to a point, and this was like really the first time that this had happened in WWE at all, where people were getting sick of the top babyface because John Cena was the guy for a really long time, and he was getting booed because people were sick of seeing it.
Yeah, I mean, you looking at it, it's the most consistently um unchanged, stable character probably across the wrestling industry.
Yep.
It's like from 2005 up till earlier this year, it was John Cena stayed the same as he was in terms of outfits, in terms of ring entrance, is
Mm-hmm.
babyface persona throughout the whole thing. you know, like you said, the polarization that just emerged, with him as a focus as WWE's appeal started decline in the late 2000s to early 2010s. It was like because lack of competition, lack of credible competition, the WWE wasn't renewing itself with in a sense. He stayed the same, and um, normally when you just hear start booing like they did with the Rocky Maivia back in the day, you change up the character, but he didn't.
Mhm.
Like he didn't go back to being Doctor Thugonomics. He didn't attack anybody. Then like turn into Dark Cena, as we think.
Yeah.
Um, but at the same time, you're still having like stellar matches. Like I remember when I started picking him up on WWE again, I was around that time. Sheamus randomly beat him for the WWE title in a tables match,
Mhm.
um, which was a shock. But then again,
Yeah.
pushed a guy like Sheamus to the main event spot, and now Sheamus, one of the most reliable veterans around. He himself is a multi-time champion in various titles.
Yeah.
So
And
wouldn't have happened if John Cena didn't go through that table.
And if you really think about it, like John Cena had the longest tenure of being a top guy of literally anybody ever in WWE.
Yeah, I
Because
think
like
maybe longer than Hogan. The only one that
so so
might not be is yeah.
Hogan was probably the second longest because he was what 84 to 93. So
Okay.
that's almost a decade.
Yeah.
And then Austin was barely 97 to 2001.
Yeah.
The
He shot up really high and then flamed out.
Yeah.
Like
And then The Rock 98 to 03.
yeah.
Triple H 02 to like 09. Um really 2000 to 09. If
Yeah.
you yeah. But
Yeah.
but yeah, John Cena like was the top guy for a lot longer, and from 2005 to probably about 2016 is when he really started to die down.
Yeah.
So like 11 years straight on top essentially.
Hmm.
And obviously he would still come back from time to time and do stuff, and it was around that time that he started to wind down a little, but he was still coming back more frequently. um but yeah, I mean there was a lot of times where like obviously being the top guy and the number one guy in the biggest company in the entire world when there is nothing else to watch is going to turn people off at some points. And like obviously there's big moments of him, like you said, being a babyface for the majority of that run, but people just not wanting him to be that guy anymore, and Vince not budging on who the top guy is in the company. And like ECW One Night Stand is a perfect example of that.
Yeah.
Like John Cena went into that and was hated by every single person in that building. And because that was a specific audience for a specific thing. And there was no chance that if John Cena had won on that night,
Yeah.
there
That
would have been a riot.
that building would likely have been destroyed. The ring would have been destroyed.
Yeah.
I can't even fathom injuries possibly worse to
Yeah.
fan staff talent. John Cena just like was at the absolute opposite antithesis of that crowd in an ECW crowd. Like there was just no
Mhm.
way John Cena would have been cheered if Hitler was his opponent.
Oh.
Okay, I'm just saying. I'm exaggerating here. Like the devil himself would probably
Yeah.
be a fan favorite in an ECW crowd versus 2005 John Cena.
Yeah. And obviously he had some great matches in that time. Like so in that time, like obviously he had some of the best feuds of his career with Edge, Randy Orton, CM Punk, Batista, Triple H, Shawn Michaels. These are all like his big time feuds that went into WrestleMania and all of that. And like obviously his feud with Edge stands out, I think, among all of them as like his longest, most tenured rival, and same with Randy Orton. But like the CM Punk one really like put them not only put CM Punk on another level, but upped John Cena's game completely. Like and I mean even CM Punk has said this in interviews recently, like that yes, without John Cena, CM Punk doesn't get to where he needed to be or where he was supposed to be. But at the same time, he helped John Cena get to another level.
Yeah. The 20 what was that, the 2011,
Evan, yep.
yeah, Summer of Punk.
Hmm.
Um that's that is more about, more a little more about, obviously more about Punk's rise, but Cena was such a crucial part of that. Like without John Cena just being like taken out and CM Punk doing his pipe bomb promo on the ramp, like
Yep.
you needed Cena to be there to absorb that, the full vitriol of that
Hmm.
promo. And then at that Money in the Bank match where Punk walked out with the title. Cena you needed someone like Cena to be there, to be the one to take in the opposite viewpoint, I guess. But yeah,
Yeah.
Punk and Cena, Orton and Cena, Edge and Cena, like I would say those are the top three um historic rivalries, I would say, of John Cena's illustrious career.
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah.
And he had some great feuds in between there. Like his feud with Umaga was great. His feud with Batista, though not as long and not as storied, eh, played a big role in things in early 2010. And I will never. Speaking of his feud with Umaga, they had that one match. I believe it was either an I Quit or a Last Man Standing, where the ring was like completely destroyed, and he used the rope to choke. He used the ring
Oh
rope to choke Umaga.
man.
Yeah. Um, that's a highlight. I can't off the top of my head remember what show that was, but that match is up there. And again, that was another thing. Like Umaga at the time, obviously, was still trying to get his legs as a heel character, and he was elevated by feuding with John Cena. You could argue that he could have won that feud and maybe gotten a title out of it, and that was part of the problem. I think with people starting to dislike John Cena was guys like Umaga and younger guys that he would feud with that John Cena could have put over
Um,
to.
so sorry to interrupt. I think the match we're talking about, I think it was a last man standing rematch at the Royal Rumble on January 28th, 2008, maybe?
That sounds right.
Yeah. I'm just reading the description here. Apparently, Umaga attacked Cena, causing a work injury to the spleen, putting the match in jeopardy. Cena, kayfabe, refused medical exam, then defeated Umaga at the Rumble after wrapping a loosened ring rope around his neck
Yep.
during
Yep.
a STFU. Yep.
Yep. That's the one.
And yeah.
Yeah. That match stands out to me. I mean, as one of the better matches of his run as a top guy. And again, like I was saying, there were times where he probably should have put the guy over instead of continuing to be the top guy all the time. And it was like that Hogan syndrome, of course. Like
Yeah.
we hear stories all the time of how like Vince McMahon would always have Hulk Hogan win matches because Hogan needed to do his pose at the end of the show to send the fans home happy. It was, a similar thing. Like send the fans home happy with John Cena winning in the main event. But guys like Umaga should have gotten that rub from defeating John Cena for a world title. Same thing
And
with Wade Barrett.
yes, so I was actually gonna go to that because yeah,
Yeah.
unfortunately, while Cena in his later years was way more accommodating because he was already winding down his career, him giving advice and putting people over, that was kind of like, it was more natural. But there was a time when it was just like, yeah, Super Cena. Let's call it the Super Cena era, where it was like
Mhm.
people you thought should have gone over did not. Wade Barrett, you just brought him up. Wade Barrett's now a commentator, but he should know full well when he was leader of the Nexus, and when he should have probably beaten John Cena at that TLC match to kind of end their feud. I mean, he probably should have won, right? Because
Well,
he was supposed to
yeah,
be the big
and
bad guy.
to add to
And
that, I mean, like when the Nexus first showed up, and they did the whole storyline where they ended up doing what was it, like 7-on-7 at SummerSlam, and John Cena was the last member of his team versus 3 members of the other team, and he still won the match. And I remember hearing like Edge and Chris Jericho specifically saying that they thought that John Cena had no reason to win that match, and that if the Nexus team had won that match, not only would it have helped the storyline as a whole, but it would have helped everybody on that team to get to another level,
exactly.
because John Cena didn't need that win. And I think John Cena has said in recent years that he regrets that. But um, obviously, at the time, I think Vince McMahon was giving John Cena more of a say in things. And John Cena felt like it made more sense for him to win that match.
Yeah, that's the dichotomy, right? It's like at the time, Finn says, "Okay, I'm gonna give you, John, what do you want to do?" And then, but he's so deferential to the old man. He's just in on his own, kind of did what the probably Vince would have wanted, even though he had the creative freedom probably to put someone else over. It's the
Mm-hmm.
same thing with Bray Wyatt. Bray Wyatt had all the psychological build up to kind of like wear John Cena down. And at the end, John Cena just beats him
Mm-hmm.
WrestleMania. And then it took like a 7-year gap before they sort of tried to rectify it.
Yep.
Although with Bray's unfortunate passing, we'll never know how well that really went over. But
Yeah, and that's another perfect example. John Cena did not need to win at WrestleMania 30
mm-hmm.
at all. It was at that point where John Cena, I mean, yes, this is 2014. John Cena's still like in the, in the thick of things at that point. But like, John Cena didn't need that win. Bray Wyatt's in the first full year of his run. Like, he wasn't even in a year yet as that character. Like, he debuted at SummerSlam of 13 with that character, and then they, strap a rocket to him, beats all these monsters, beats Kane, and goes on to feud with the biggest star in the entire company at WrestleMania, and he loses. Like, that doesn't help anybody, because John Cena didn't need that win. There was no reason for John Cena to beat Bray Wyatt at WrestleMania 30. Absolutely no reason. And that adds to the frustration I think that people had about John Cena as a whole. And I've said this on numerous occasions. I've always been a John Cena fan, even when people hated him in that very bad time in WWE. Like 2009 to 2013 is a bad period in WWE, and that's when John Cena was on top the most. Like,
Yeah, I remember that era. The only thing that I think is like I get these moments when there's like I only watch wrestling because of this one storyline. For
yeah,
that period, I think it was mainly for Punk's run as champion and then the AJ Lee stuff at the time.
yeah.
With the
I mean,
triangle with like Punk, Kane, Daniel Bryan.
yeah, but
Other than
like,
that, there was nothing else that interested me at the time.
and like, as a fan, like, obviously, like, WrestleMania 27 was a bad WrestleMania from top to bottom. The main event of that show was John Cena versus The Miz in one of the worst WrestleMania main events ever. And and that, I'm not just saying that because I dislike The Miz. It's a bad match. It's a bad match from top to
Trying to
bottom. And
remember, the Miz, I think, took a really bad hit to the head and like concussed himself to the point where I don't even know if Mike Mr. Mike even remembered what happened in the match. Did he even remember he had a match? Because he took a really nasty hit. I saw the way
Yeah,
his head hit the concrete.
that
was
whole
bad.
WrestleMania was built around The Rock hosting it.
Yeah.
And then that match was the result of The Rock interfering because there was going to be a DQ and The Rock was like, no, restart the match. And then The Rock caused The Miz to retain. which set up the next night on Raw where they did this year-long build to the once-in-a-lifetime match that they did 3 times. Like obviously that build was a big deal, and John Cena went into that year-long build being at every show while The Rock was only at 10% of them. And that was when John Cena was in the right, I think, at the time. Like, yes, the year-long build thing didn't really work because The Rock was never there. But it was a big deal that the match was happening. And then the problem was that The Rock won the match. When The Rock did not need to win the match because The Rock is never there.
Yeah.
So then, obviously, The Rock at the time had not wrestled in 7 years, gets injured in the match.
Oh boy.
After winning the match. And then John Cena goes on this run of just constantly losing big matches and spends the whole 2012 into 2013 year trying to bounce back from losing to The Rock. And that was the year where they made him fight John Laurinaitis a bunch. And
yeah, that was a low point. I was like, ugh.
Yeah. And then John Cena wins the Royal Rumble for the second time ever. And let's not forget, all right, so we'll go back to this, but let's not forget that, like, they build that match, The Rock versus John Cena, as once in a lifetime. Meaning, when you say that, that usually means that you're probably never going to see it again. Nope, we did it exactly 1 year later again, this time for a title. Because
let's not forget, I think in between, so Cena loses to The Rock at WrestleMania 28, yeah. And then he calls out The Rock the following night, but The Rock didn't show up. Brock Lesnar showed up.
Well, yes. This is when Brock Lesnar made his first return after being gone since 2004.
Yeah, and I know you hate talking about Brock Lesnar at this point, but yes, he has to be one of one of John Cena's historic rivals.
And
even though
let's just not forget this. John Cena is supposed to be going on this downward spiral of a run, and he beats Brock Lesnar in Brock Lesnar's first match back.
I forgot about that. Maybe that's why recently Brock Lesnar beat him at SummerSlam this year. I'm not talking about past now.
I mean, this was the second. This was the second time that Brock Lesnar has literally jobbed out John Cena like 3 times total. But yes, so he goes on this long after beating Brock Lesnar for random reasons that nobody can understand. He goes on this downward spiral, having matches with John Laurinaitis and Big Show for the 12,000th time, and all of that, just to win the Royal Rumble for the second time to face The Rock again. And this is the WrestleMania that I attended, where the main event was The Rock versus John Cena for the second time.
Before we keep going on to this, apparently in between the Big Show feud and winning the Royal Rumble, he was allegedly involved. Cena was involved in some kind of menage a trois with AJ Lee and Dolph Ziggler, which resulted in like AJ turning on Cena and then Cena like beating Ziggler again to end the feud. But that was another one of those weird things that he was involved.
Was this also the year where he won the Money in the Bank by accident and lost it by DQ?
Won it, cashed it in in the most dumbest way possible in a sanctioned match.
Well,
that was that was
he announced when he was cashing in. He did what RVD did.
okay.
RVD RVD was the first person to do this.
Right,
He
right,
announced that he was going to cash in his Money in the Bank at One Night Stand instead of doing the thing that Edge did and that everybody else would do from there on out, which
right.
is cash in after somebody else got beat up.
Yeah.
John Cena announced that he would cash in his Money in the Bank on the 1,000th episode of Raw,
Yes.
where he had a match with CM Punk for the title, where
Right.
CM Punk was at the time currently in his long reign that was 434 days.
Yeah. He was
And
well into it at this
yeah,
point. This was the one
and
where Big Show jumped in, interfered, and
yes,
then The Rock came in, I think, and then that was the point.
it was the first ever official unsuccessful cash in.
Now
And
that I think about it, you're right. I think all the stuff before that were all like run-ins, and everybody cashed in
yes,
successfully.
John Cena was the first ever unofficial cash in to win a championship. And that was because Big Show interfered. And of course, after this happens, is when on this very same show, CM Punk turns heel on The Rock to face The Rock at the Royal Rumble where he lost the belt to set up John Cena winning the Royal Rumble to face The Rock again, this time for the championship.
Yeah, and this time he won the title.
And this time he beat The Rock. The Rock got injured again, and John Cena was once again champion. And let's not forget, now that we're talking about the Royal Rumble, John Cena has one of, if not the biggest surprise in Royal Rumble history, because in 2008, he was injured
Mm-hmm.
to the point where they thought he was going to be out for like 7 to 9 months. And he came back in 3 months. And that was probably, I mean, the 7 to 9 months was obviously a lot, but he came back in 3 months to appear in that year's Royal Rumble in 2008, where he would win his first ever Royal Rumble. But the fact that he was even in the match when they told us that he was going to be out for 7 to 9 months was one of the biggest surprises to ever happen in Royal Rumble history. I mean, to this day, if you watch John Cena's return in 2008, I still get goosebumps from the moment, and I know it's going to happen. Like, it's one of the biggest moments of his career ever. And
Yeah, I mean, he before that he had been WWE champion for 380 days, probably one of the longest reigns at the time.
yep,
And then you said he was going to be out for up to 9 months. They said for
they
a
said,
torn pec.
yep,
Came back in 3. Now, if you want to believe it, it could be just his incredible regenerative abilities, or we at the time it's 2008, guys. We
yep,
misunderestimate how long a very high class caliber athlete can recover from a torn pec. So they exaggerated the recovery time a little.
yeah.
But yeah, I guess to your point, it's that entry in the 2008 Royal Rumble is akin to, for those modern fans out there who are wondering what Mike is talking about, it's like when Seth Rollins apparently injured his knee and was apparently going to be out for the shelf for a long time, and then showed up to cash in his Money in the Bank contract on CM Punk recently, a few months ago, thus basically, making us all look like fools.
Oh, don't worry. You'll get to hear all about that in Unreal Season 2 that was just announced for January.
The master plan that Paul Heyman cooked up for.
Yeah. But yes. So at this point, 2014, we talked about the Bray stuff. 2015 is where he kind of takes a step back and goes back to the US title.
Mm-hmm.
And this is when he feuds with Rusev again, another match that he went into at WrestleMania that he should have lost. But he did not. He won again. And at the time, Rusev was very new to the main roster. I think he was only like 2 years in. And
Oh wait, did we miss the whole part about his feud with the Authority, and then the 5-on-5 Survivor Series tag match at
Well, we were
2014?
we were we were up to 2015. We were gonna get there.
Okay, but I thought it was
Yeah,
an important moment because there was just a
yeah,
lot of interesting stuff that happened in that period.
yeah. We were gonna get there. So
Yeah. Okay.
he has this feud with Rusev that again Rusev should have won, but he did not. John Cena won again. And this was at the time when he was having the US Open challenges. And this is around the time that John Cena started to be liked again because this is when he started to really open up his moveset and and have better matches. Not to say that he was having really bad matches, but people were just getting tired of the same old shoulder tackle, power bomb, five knuckle shuffle, FU attitude adjustment match. It's over thing. He started to do more things in his arsenal. He started to up his game. He was doing more. He was doing a diving leg drop, which he had never done before. He was doing that springboard stunner, which was very new to him specifically. Like he would, and everybody that he would face in these U.S. Open challenges would make him a better wrestler. Sami Zayn, Cesaro, Kevin Owens. He had that great feud with Kevin Owens over that belt. Um, and yeah, like the U.S. Open Challenge was huge for him to get the fans back at a period where they were still kind of like souring on the fact that he was always winning and not putting people over. And yeah, so this is around the time that all the stuff happens with Daniel Bryan and Triple H goes into the Authority gimmick.
Yes, the on-screen heel corporate bad guy character, which is how
Yeah.
uncreative is it? He's just recopying what Vince did during the
Mm-hmm.
Attitude Era.
Yeah.
Um,
Exactly.
yeah, I mean
So
this was pushing
yeah.
Seth Rollins to the moon, stuff like that, turning
Mm-hmm.
Kane into a corporate suit,
Yep.
which was probably Kane's trial run before he became a politician.
Of
So
course. Yep.
yeah, I think this whole thing, the most thing I remember from this year of that latter part of 2014 was this whole culmination that Cena was asked to join the Authority. Instead, he did not. So this resulted in a 5-on-5 Survivor Series traditional elimination tag match between Team Cena, which consisted of Cena, Dolph Ziggler, Big Show at Ryback and Eric Rowan at the time versus Team Authority, which was Seth Rollins, Kane, Luke Harper / Brody Lee, Mark Henry and Rusev.
Mm-hmm.
Um, well, I mean, I gotta say, this was like one of the weirdest, like sad kind of like storylines at the time in Cena's career. Cena's
Yep.
team wins. Cena was not the sole survivor. Big
Nope.
Show turned heel on Cena in this match for like the 1020th time. Um, and then so at that point, everybody thought that, oh man, the Authority's got this in the bag. It's Kane and
Yes.
Harper show left against poor Dolph Ziggler. Somehow Dolph Ziggler is like, eliminating them one by one. Fucking Triple H comes in and just starts wailing on the guy and like basically goes on full authority mode and just tries to get the referee to give him the result he wants. And then Sting shows up. Remember when Sting was in WWE for a while?
For like
And
5
then
minutes.
yeah, for 5 minutes. Team Authority loses. They lose all their power. Triple H and Stephanie are banished from the company. Wink, wink. And then apparently only John Cena had the power to bring them back. And so apparently, Big Show. Okay, so the stupidest way this happened was around the end of 2014 on the December 29th, 2014 Raw. Basically, they didn't even do this for a match where Cena lost in the 40s and reinstated. Seth Rollins and Big Show holds Edge, Adam Copeland, hostage, forcing Cena to reinstate the Authority.
Yeah.
But then apparently, okay, so let's see. Authority is reinstated, added Rollins to a subsequent title match, and then fired Ziggler, Ryback, and Rowan for joining Team Cena. And then Cena then turns around and wins their jobs back by defeating Rollins, Big Show, and Kane at a handicap match. Yeah, okay. So all that to get the Authority out of our hair, and they were reinstated a month later, which
Well, and this goes back to just WWE creative being out of
this
ideas.
was not a creative time for WWE. If there
Oh
was,
no, I mean, and this is around the time that you're getting into another dark period. I mean, 2016 as a whole. So we're into 2016 now. That's a good year for WWE and John Cena specifically, because 2016 is when he starts his feud with AJ Styles. So
AJ Styles being in WWE.
yeah, I mean, AJ Styles shows up at that Royal Rumble, first time ever, and immediately gets thrown into feud with Chris Jericho, gets thrown into feuds with John Cena. And John Cena versus AJ Styles ends up being like the feud of the year in 2016 because they have amazing matches. I was at SummerSlam 2016 in Brooklyn. I got to see their match at that show, and it's one of my favorite WWE matches that I've ever seen in person. And they would continue that, and obviously Gallows and Anderson were also involved, and they coined the beat up John Cena catchphrase. And they would have a rematch in early 2017 at the Royal Rumble, which was also a banger. And
He
yeah,
won the WWE Championship at that time. So he at the time tied with that win.
No,
He tied Ric Flair, didn't he?
I believe that was that his last championship win before breaking the record?
I think so. I'm just reading here on the 2017 Royal Rumble. Cena defeated Styles to win the WWE Championship to tie Ric Flair for the most recognized world title reigns at
Yeah.
16.
And you just reminded me of something that happened at the previous year's. So SummerSlam was in Brooklyn 3 years in a row: 2015, 2016, and 2017. And I also went to 2015. 2015 was where he had a title for title match with Seth Rollins.
Oh yeah, I remember that stupid thing.
And it was a US versus WWE championship match. And this match would end with, of all people, Jon Stewart
Of the Daily Show from New
coming
York
out
City
and helping Seth Rollins win the match after it had been established that Seth Rollins and Jon Stewart were not friends.
And Jon Stewart's reasoning for this was so stupid. He said he didn't want Cena to tie Ric Flair's 16 title reigns, which ended up happening several months later. Anyway,
well, yeah,
or beating it. I don't know.
Yeah, no, at the time it would have been a tie, but yes, that was Jon Stewart's reasoning at the previous year's SummerSlam. So yes, then we get into 2017, and 2017 is kind of where things start to die down again for John Cena. He is still like around full time, but not as frequently. This is around the time that I think things start to slow down. I'm just trying. He had obviously Baron Corbin had won the the Money in the Bank that year, and he basically jobbed Baron Corbin out at that year's SummerSlam. like to the point that they shouldn't even have had the match.
I mean,
Like,
yeah,
um, and yeah, 2017 is like a weird year because that was like
yeah. I was. You mentioned Baron Corbin because you kind of jumped to 2018, but I want to let's mention 2017. John Cena. That was yeah, that was fucking weird, dude. So I mean, he
yeah,
won. He tied Ric Flair with 16 world title reigns. Um, Lost it at Elimination Chamber a month later, basically to Bray Wyatt. Um, and then he starts a feud with The Miz. The
oh
Miz
yes,
accusing Cena of being a hypocrite because of movie commitments, while Cena accuses The Miz of stealing other wrestlers' moves and personalities. Um, Maurice gets herself involved, slapping Cena, and then that, of course, brings in Cena's at the time then girlfriend Nikki Bella.
yep,
Basically doing a mixed tag team feud. This time at WrestleMania 33,
yep.
and then one of probably John Cena's life moments. He proposes to Nikki in the ring, which she accepted,
Mm-hmm.
and we all know how that ended up.
Yes, and that is around the time that John Cena would start taking hiatuses,
Yes, yes.
and we
He
would
started
not
getting
see
movie roles. He started getting movie
and
roles.
and we would not see him again until July, which is
Hmm.
when the feud with Baron Corbin kind of kicks off.
Yes.
And yeah, he caused Baron Corbin to lose his Money in the Bank cash in. Um, and they had that stupid match at SummerSlam, which we discussed before. And yeah, there wasn't really a lot going on with John Cena in 2017. 2017, I mean, he had that random off match at No Mercy with Roman Reigns. That was their first meeting, a random No Mercy in 2017.
I don't
Like,
even remember that.
yeah.
What was the basis of that match? Why did they
I
have?
don't know. I think it was at the time John Cena was trying to get that 17th world title, so he was like, "Oh, okay, I guess you got to go through Roman Reigns first." But Roman would end up winning.
Yeah,
Um,
I know. I'm just scrolling through the card as to like, yeah, you're right. He had a match with John Cena by pinfall. Roman Reigns beat John Cena by pinfall. Um, wow, this is a pretty lame looking card. Looking back at it,
2017 is a blur of a year. It's a really bad
try
year.
to remember 27. I guess between 2017 to 2018, Brock Lesnar was the Universal Champion. You know, he was doing the Roman Reigns like, oh, I'm only here for like twice a year or something like that.
Yeah,
Back in the day, we bug Roman Reigns about being a part timer now. I mean, Brock
yeah,
Lesnar like pioneered that concept. But yeah, yeah, there wasn't much happening for John Cena in 2017. I think he was on a Team Raw and Team versus Team SmackDown at
yeah,
the Survivor Series, but got eliminated by Kurt Angle.
yeah. And
Yeah,
then he,
2018 was even weirder, I guess, the lead up
yeah,
because he was like, "Yeah, I need to be at WrestleMania, so I have to win the Rumble." Doesn't win the Royal Rumble. Um, doesn't win the Elimination Chamber.
the first SmackDown on Fox,
Yeah.
he teams with Becky Lynch for no
Oh,
reason at all.
okay. I sort
uh,
of remember that.
uh,
What I'm talking about in 2018 was this attempt to get onto WrestleMania.
yes.
To the point where he basically says he bought a ticket so he could sit at ringside.
Well, first he tried to win the Royal Rumble.
Yeah, that's what I meant. I
He
mentioned that
failed.
earlier.
Yeah,
Tried to
he.
win the Elimination Chamber. He failed.
Yep,
Tried to win some kind of six-pack challenge match at Fastlane that year.
yep,
Failed.
yep,
So basically, at that point, he was stuck not having a role on WrestleMania for like the first time in a long time, right?
yep.
So I don't know what happened next, but somehow the Undertaker showed up, and Cena and Undertaker had a match for the first
Well,
time in
it
like
was
what
because
20 years?
it was because John Cena was at his wits' end about
Yeah,
getting on
exactly.
WrestleMania
Yeah,
34.
I mentioned he bought his
So
ticket to the
so
show.
he actually called the Undertaker out
Oh yes.
before WrestleMania,
Oh, now I remember.
but he was unable to get a response. So that's why he said, "I'm going to buy a ticket so that I can wait for his response at WrestleMania." Then the best part about that, right? So he buys his ticket. He's in the crowd for WrestleMania for like the first 3 matches. And then a producer walks up to him and whispers in his ear. And then he like lights up and then goes backstage to change. And then comes out, I believe, like midway through the show and just jobs out to the Undertaker.
Yeah.
Literally. Like all it was like a tombstone and a pinfall. It was
Yep.
nothing, which was hilarious at the time. Um, but yes, after that, he pretty much took another hiatus. Um,
Yeah, and then
and
goes to the aforementioned you teaming with Becky Lynch to face Andrade and Selena.
the random match where he teams with Becky on the first SmackDown on Fox. Then January, he loses to Finn Balor in a fatal 4-way, also involving Drew and Corbin to determine the number 1 contender for the Universal title at the Rumble. And he was scheduled to compete in the Rumble, was taken out due to an in-storyline ankle injury he supposedly suffered during that match. And at WrestleMania 35, this was the first WrestleMania since 32, which we didn't talk about, but that he did not have a scheduled match.
Are you
35,
talking about at
30,
WrestleMania 36 or 35?
35.
Oh, 35. Okay.
Yes. We didn't mention at 32, he was injured, so he was unable to compete. But he did make an appearance helping The Rock beat up the Wyatt family. And yes, at 35, he had nothing scheduled. So he brought back the Doctor of Thugonomics gimmick and beat up Elias.
Yeah, okay.
um,
Um
then after that, he came back for the Raw reunion show in July and engaged in a rap battle with the Usos.
oh great.
This is when the Usos were rapping.
Yes. So we're coming up to sort of I guess you could
Yes.
call it a tail end if you can call 5 years a tail end of Cena's career.
Yes.
Yeah, he comes back on 2020 apparently to announce his retirement before he was confronted by Bray Wyatt as the Fiend,
Mm-hmm.
which actually set up to one of the more interesting matches of I think of Cena's career, which I actually liked because of the unfortunate events of worldwide events of COVID-19 that year in 2020. The original match, whatever it was supposed to be, could not be done for health reasons. So what they did was a very surreal cinematic style match, the first of its kind, called the Firefly Funhouse match. Essentially, it was a psychological deep dive into Cena's career rather than an actual wrestling match.
Yep.
I would encourage people to go on YouTube and watch it. I think it's still on there.
Mm-hmm.
The Firefly Funhouse match is probably one of WWE's best cinematic matches I can imagine at the time when they were really having to do a lot of those due to pandemic restrictions. And this is kind of stuff that was pioneered by the Hardys with their broken era and the final deletions, stuff like that. But yeah, I would say the final deletion and the Firefly Funhouse, probably two of the top kind of cinematic style matches.
Yeah.
And I was also throwing actually the Undertaker's last match at the same WrestleMania. But yeah, it was just a very surreal, look at Cena as a what if he was in the NWO, what could have been
Hmm.
as a heel, and like his
Yeah.
failures during ruthless aggression, and basically at the end the Fiend beats him.
Hmm.
The pinfall wasn't so much that important as the sort of just psychological breakdown of Cena. Um, what's unfortunate about that is that after that happened, nothing really changed much.
Yes. So he would
Yeah,
disappear. He would disappear again for a while.
yeah.
He
At the
would
time,
miss
he was filming the
Peacemaker.
HBO Peacemaker.
Yep.
Hmm.
So 37 WrestleMania 37 was the first WrestleMania that he missed in over 20 years.
Mm.
He did not make an appearance. He did not have a match. And then he would come back to once again confront Roman Reigns.
Yep.
This time, the tribal chief, Roman Reigns. Um, and obviously, would want to get that world title win once again, to beat that record. Cena did the old Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 20 deal where Finn Balor was scheduled to face Roman Reigns for the title, but John Cena signed the contract, which is not how contracts work.
Well, apparently in the WWE universe, it does. That's because
Yes.
he's doing it.
And then he would face Roman Reigns once again for the title this time. On my birthday that year. I forgot that SummerSlam was on my birthday. And he would lose again. And then he would disappear again for almost a whole year. And he would come back for the 20th anniversary of his main roster debut. He cuts
Yep.
a promo. And again, he's not really wrestling a lot at this
No,
time.
actually, in 2022, he came very close to going through that full year without having a single match
Yep.
until until SmackDown on December 30th, 2022, when Kevin Owens needed a partner to face Roman Reigns and Sami Zayn.
Yep.
Kevin Owens is like, "Hey, Peacemaker, you haven't had a match yet in 2022. What?" So Cena and Owens teamed up on the almost the second last day of 2022. So to just officially be on the books that Cena wrestled in 2022.
Yeah. All right. So we've gotten pretty much to the point. We're up to more recent years.
Yeah, more
Obviously.
sporadic appearances by Cena, just kind
Yeah.
of one-offs here and there.
Of course, WrestleMania 40, he would appear in helping Cody Rhodes to finally dethrone Roman Reigns. He had that random Raw match the night after where he teamed with Awesome Truth to beat the Judgment Day.
I believe, technically speaking, the Miz has been on. Was recently said that was the last match I was involved with John Cena as not as not as components, but as a teammate.
Yeah, it was also the third time that he faced the Judgment Day after, all time or whatever. All right,
Okay.
so then that's when the retirement tour stuff starts.
I was there. I was there at the Money in the Bank in Toronto, July 2024, when he made the announcement.
Yes, so he makes the announcement that at the Raw premiere on Netflix, Cena announced that he would compete in the Royal Rumble for a shot at once again to get that 17th world title after this full calendar year starting in January would be the end of his career.
Yeah, I was when I was in Toronto for Money in the Bank when he made the announcement. I will say, I was very emotional. I did feel something that was thinking that, this guy's been in front of me for like almost 20 years at that point, and it was just like, wow, we're gonna get one more year with him, and that's it.
Yep.
So that was a very emotional high.
Of course, at that time, his goal becomes to get 17.
Mhm.
And he enters the Royal Rumble, doesn't win. Enters the Elimination Chamber, and
Yeah, in
wins.
also in Toronto,
Yeah,
which makes me. Oh, I will remember this because Shizina announced his retirement in Toronto, and then at Elimination Chamber 2025 in Toronto, he wins the Elimination Chamber. But that's really not the thing I remember during this
of course,
retirement tour.
of
If you,
course. So after winning that match is when things start to happen. Um, of course, this has also been documented on WWE Unreal and is well documented by now. Um, After the match, he hugs Cody Rhodes, and The Rock comes out to get his answer from Cody Rhodes. The Rock, Cody says no. Cena hugs him as if it's like you made the right move. And then we get that moment where John Cena kicks Cody Rhodes below the belt.
well, it was like the pan to his face, and
Yes.
then Cena just goes all dark, and it was
The
just like,
Rock
oh
the
my god! I was there. I'm like, holy shit!
So The Rock does something stupid with his fingers that means nothing. And
Oh, it froze.
belt,
Okay, never mind.
whole face changes, demeanor changes, and that's where we get the turn.
Yeah,
John Cena is a heel officially for the first time in 22 years,
yeah.
essentially. And we all know how this went.
The heel turn
And
is
so
was yeah,
the
yeah,
moment itself is big. Yes.
yes,
That's a big deal.
yeah.
However, the follow up is where the problems start.
Right. I mean, I think we could all see that there was issues. First of all, why was Travis Scott involved? There was really no
Yeah.
need for him to be there. But yeah, the
Yeah.
major high was Cena's look on his face, The Rock doing the thing with his finger, Cena kicking Cody in the nuts, and then the subsequent beat down, destruction of Cody.
Yeah.
But yeah, after that, things go downhill as The Rock basically distanced himself from the whole storyline.
Mm-hmm.
Travis Scott disappears. Uh, us fans expecting like this whole new Cena where he comes up with new music because he's a bad guy now. Boo.
Yeah.
He does nothing. He
Yeah.
keeps the same
Nothing
song.
changes.
He puts a black background that says John Cena. Only thing it changed was he stopped running to the ring.
Yeah. And it just devolves from there to the point where it just none of it makes sense. None of it matters. None of it works at all.
It was just so confusing because they printed all this farewell tour merchandise because they were
Yep.
doing because that was a time when Raw WWE went on a European tour prior to WrestleMania Las Vegas 1, and I'm seeing him showing up in like Belgium and Italy and
Yep.
like at one point when Belgium where he basically calls out this kid for being his fan and this kid looked like
Yep.
he was devastated about to cry. He's like, what?
And I mean, the biggest problem with all of this is, like you said, The Rock just distances himself completely when the crux of the entire thing was he did what Cody refused to do.
Mhm.
He joined the dark side. He took the offer. He did, and
He sold his soul to The Rock.
he sold his soul to The Rock. But The Rock is no longer appearing after that. And we hear reports all the time during this period that The Rock just comes and goes as he pleases. Whenever he shows up, he just inserts himself in something, and even if it has no real direction, and that really is what would happen because that's what this was. there was no real direction for this Cody stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The Rock, either they had no plan at all and they were just like, oh, I want Cody to turn heel and then I'm going to leave. Or The Rock didn't get what he wanted and he decided to leave because he didn't like the direction. Either way, it was bad because none of what John Cena did mattered after that because the whole point of the heel turn was that he sold his soul to The Rock. But The Rock is not here anymore. So then the John Cena has to improvise all these promos and just make it about hating the fans. And yes, we talk about a lot how you people promos usually don't work because everybody does it. But John Cena at least had a reason to do it because even when he wanted, as we talked about earlier, even when fans were supposed to like him, they hated him. So he had every reason to hate the people at some point. But they just didn't know what to do to make any of that work because there was no plan. And so John Cena would just have these random matches on random shows against people that we didn't want to see him wrestle. Like I understand like the like he's gonna face Randy Orton again and he's gonna face CM Punk again, even though that like there's really no reason to do any of this. And they did the reverse pipe bomb thing, which again did not matter because it resulted in nothing.
I mean, I will say it was like, in terms of presentation, when Cena started doing it while Punk's lying in the ring, and I'm like, oh wow, in terms of a nostalgia effect, sure, it was good, but yeah, it didn't carry on the greater storyline, right? But just for that moment, it was like, for me, it's yes, the Cena heel turn at Toronto, the reverse pipe bomb moment. Those are very like significant events, way more so than even WrestleMania 41 when Cena beat Cody for the title because stupid Travis Scott showed up
On
as a distraction or whatever.
yeah,
But yeah,
WrestleMania
but actually, that
41.
moment, that moment would be the third significance because that's when Cena won the 17 world title.
Yeah, but we did not get the match that we were hoping for. WrestleMania 41 as a whole ended up being a dud. And the main event ended up being a dud because this match was bad. This match was very bad, and there was no sign of The Rock. We had this really, really long entrance of Travis Scott where John Cena was like looking at the ramp like he was in a trance because he was just waiting for Travis Scott to get in the ring, and he took forever. And yeah, it just resulted in nothing exciting, nothing. John Cena just won by kicking Cody in the dick. And that's it. And
yeah, and then Cody disappears for months while Cena does his never seen 17 reign, facing Orton, Punk, and then we get the bad part where he teams up with Logan Paul and against Jey Uso and Cody and a returning Cody Rhodes, I believe. Yes.
Yeah.
This was at Money in the Bank, and let's not forget R-Truth in all this.
So yeah, R-Truth. I mean, and we've talked about this a lot, obviously, when it happened and all of that. R-Truth gets released legitimately, and there's an outpouring of fan support to the point where they want him back, and they bring him back, and they turn him into this new character where he's now going by his real name, Ron Killings, and he is just trying to get at John Cena and trying to cause John Cena harm or whatever because John Cena blah 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 got fired because of the John whatever. They don't do anything with any of that.
No. And I can explain why, because when Ron Killings got fired and then brought back, the bringing back was not part of the plan. See, Triple H's plan was just to let Ron Killings go. He made whether you rightly or wrongly agreed with that decision, it was not part of the plan. So once they brought him back, they had no idea what to do with him. So the only thing they could do was just to make him funny R-Truth again.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if I mentioned it on this podcast before or on a previous episode, but Ron Killings would have killed it, no pun intended, on the Indies in GCW.
Of
Anywhere
course.
else,
Of course.
he should not have like tried to. But you know what? Here's the thing. This is a part of when the corporate leaders are swayed in their decision by their employees. I'm not talking about the fans at this point. I'm not talking about you and me who are clamoring for R-Truth to come back. I'm talking about people like Rhea Ripley. I'm talking about John Cena himself. People like, his peers begging them to bring Truth back because he was such a loved person in backstage as part of their, family, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they, you know, instead of just holding firm like Triple H and Nick Khan, like at this point, like Nick Khan himself calls R-Truth and asks him to come back. I don't know. I mean, I'm not an expert in these decisions, but I
Yep.
believe like R-Truth probably, we're diverting a little bit from our topic here, but R-Truth probably would have been better off going on his own because he was such a hot name like that at that point.
Yeah.
It was like it was like the Matt Cardona. It was like Karrion Killer Cross, or after he was recently let go. It was just that he was that red hot at that point. He could have like gone over anywhere, but then he decides to go back, tries to negotiate some kind of new deal. They did it for a few weeks, and then it's back to goofy R-Truth again with the jokes and the Cena impersonations and whatever. And anyway, a sort of unfortunate footnote in this analysis.
So after all of that happens, you mentioned the tag match with Logan Paul.
Yeah.
Then Money in the Bank comes around, and
well, that tag match was at Money in the Bank.
Oh yeah, sorry, that was Money in the Bank, and then at Night of Champions
was the Cena versus Punk redo.
Cena versus Punk rematch in Saudi Arabia, and then that is when Cody comes back after that, and they announced that they will be having a rematch after Cody at SummerSlam, and it is around this time that John Cena just decides on the last SmackDown before SummerSlam,
I'm good guy again.
That he's learned from his mistakes. That he's and that
I should have never listened to that Rock and that bastard Travis Scott.
Yeah. And that some people got in the way of what he wanted to do, and some people were not there when they were supposed to be. The Rock. So then him and Cody have a great match at SummerSlam. An actual match, an actual wrestling match.
This topped the WrestleMania match.
Oh, by a long shot.
He got a Meltzer 5-star rating.
Yes. And Cody would win the title back, and it was around this time that Brock Lesnar comes back.
Yeah.
Brock Lesnar, who we have spoken about in the past, is still in so he's not being sued.
No, I gotta say, like, I'll be on record, I think he's in some legal limbo that is not problematic enough for the WWE not to use him, because for this fan base, he's still a draw in some areas. So
even though at this point all Brock Lesnar is good for is 5 suplexes and an F5. Like, that's literally all he's good for. And, like, his matches aren't entertaining. His matches aren't exciting. He does the same shit every single match and then just goes home. And, they have a rematch again.
On WrestlePalooza.
This was after Cena had his one-on-one match with Logan Paul, which nobody wanted. He has his final SmackDown appearance where Sami Zayn has a U.S. Open challenge and asks John Cena to be his opponent, which was great considering we talked about John Cena's US Open challenges, and that was the reason why it was happening. Sami Zayn wanted to return the favor. And yes, at the horribly named WrestlePalooza show, John Cena would once again face Brock Lesnar in an exact rematch from their SummerSlam 2014 match, where Brock Lesnar just did a bunch of suplexes and won.
Yeah. No real reason for that. Didn't
Yeah.
really lead anywhere.
No,
Other
it
than
was for
just
nothing.
other than just show us that this happened almost a decade and a half
And
plus ago.
and it was
Same
around
thing.
this time that Triple H went out of his way to say that John Cena asked for this match. And then John Cena would respond to that in I believe, a TMZ interview where he said that he just does what he's told. So Triple H lied, and we know that he lied because John Cena said so. He didn't say it directly, but
yeah.
yeah. So then that was his last SmackDown and his last end of September WrestlePalooza. Then randomly, AJ Styles and John Cena just booked themselves into a match on social media. There was
For the
literally
benefit of us all.
for the benefit of wrestling fans.
Yes. The timing was great because it was at Crown Jewel in the 100th match. Basically I'm trying to read here. Cena beat AJ in what was his 100th victory at a WWE pay-per-view and live streaming event, putting himself second in all-time pay-per-view and live streaming event wins behind The Undertaker.
Yep.
It was like fantastic. The tributes that Cena started doing at this point were just very on brand. Like he did everything from an End of Days, I think, like to nod to like Baron Corbin, who at this time was no longer with the company.
In
to like
the subsequent matches that we spoke about, like with Logan Paul and Sami Zayn, he started pulling out moves of past opponents of his. So like he randomly threw out an RKO one time. He did a spear, and everybody was like, "Oh, look, he's honoring Roman." Like, no, it's Edge.
No. Because you can't get everybody to have a last match with you at this point. It's unfortunate, but this was a nice small way to just give a nod to the people who helped made you.
So him and AJ have a hell of a match. AJ comes out in his TNA gear, and did he come out to the music?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, yeah. I don't know why I thought he came out to the music on this show.
No.
But
well, we didn't mention that in the past that AJ had once said he would never come out to that old TNA music ever again.
Well, that was a lie because he did it at a TNA show.
Slammiversary. Yep. Whoopsie. Yeah.
But yeah, so they had a hell of a match, and then it is announced that his final match will be at the subsequent Saturday night's main event on December 13th. We're getting there. But in the middle, there's a couple of Raws in between.
To determine that last opponent, they had what is called the Last Time Is Now tournament.
With the most horrible selection of opponents ever.
We could probably do a whole different episode about like who should have been in this tournament.
Yeah.
But we don't have enough time today, I don't think.
No. But in the middle of all of that, he decides that in his home state of Massachusetts, on his last Raw in his home state, to challenge Dominic for the Intercontinental title. And he wins to finally finish the Grand Slam of this era, because he had never won the Intercontinental title before, ever. Then he would have 0 defenses.
Yeah, his one and only defense was against Dominic. It was in his rematch at
Yeah.
Survivor Series, which he lost due to a returning Liv Morgan, ending
Yes.
the reign at 19 days.
And you'll be shocked to find out that in between that, he
Yeah.
had a random 6-man match with, wait for it, JD, Finn Balor, and Dominic.
Well, he teamed with what I would say appropriate opponents if we had to talk about this match seriously. Rey Mysterio, um, deadbeat
Yeah.
dad of Dom, and Sheamus.
Yeah.
Who I mentioned it very earlier. I thought it was
But
nice full circle to
his
cap
last
off
episode, his
cap off
last
his last match on Raw.
his
I
last
think.
Raw
Yeah,
ever,
yeah, last Raw ever.
where he could have been defending the Intercontinental title and at least had one defense
Oh
under
my
his
god.
belt.
Okay. Speaking of the last time is now tournament, you hated the selection of opponents, most of them or participants.
Yes.
I just was disappointed in the fact that the last time is now tournament that the Intercontinental title itself was just on the line.
Mm-hmm.
Like make him lose it
Well, especially what we know
lose it in a retirement
now.
match. Yeah,
Especially what we know now,
which we'll get to,
right?
which
Which
we'll
we
spend
were
another
going.
hour talking about probably.
Yes. So the selection of opponents is not great. There's some good ones in there, but
Yeah,
and
why
they
don't you start with the ones you think deserve to be in there, and then move on to like the
well,
ones you thought
it
were
was
like
cool that
what?
Javon Evans was in there.
Yeah,
It was cool that we had some returns in there.
right.
So we had Zack Ryder and Dolph Ziggler, both
Mm-hmm.
who are currently not employed,
Mm-hmm.
but are working for TNA.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and yeah, after that, uh, I mean, Sheamus was in it, but he got hurt. Rusev was in it. Jay Uso,
Jey Uso beat Rusev.
yeah.
Sheamus was replaced by the Miz, who
After
then
after the Miz
yeah
had already lost in the first round.
yeah
The Miz was in the tournament, lost in the first round. And then when Sheamus was unable to compete, instead of doing something interesting, they put the Miz in again, which is
okay.
mind boggling.
So the way they try to explain this was at Saturday Night Main Event. Basically Miz was in the ring. He's screaming about him not being on the show and for Cena's last match. And then R-Truth comes out and says, Miz, you stole the spot on the tournament. It should have gone to this guy. And he pulls out this name, and it's Joe Hendry.
Mm-hmm.
So Joe Hendry had a little moment, but
Yes.
apparently they're trying to allude to the fact that he was supposed to replace
Well,
Sheamus in the
yes, and
tournament, which never happened.
Joe Hendry had been talking a lot about wanting to be in that tournament, or at least having the opportunity to be in the same ring as John Cena, and he never got that opportunity.
Hmm.
So that's unfortunate. But
Yeah, I mean,
and
some of these other people are I'm fine, like Carmelo Hayes,
yeah,
Bronson
that
Reed.
those are
Yeah,
fine.
Penta, yeah, and speaking of Penta, it's unfortunate what happened to him. I don't think he was injured. I'm not sure to the extent of the injuries he had in the match where he took that bump, but they basically made Solo the winner after like 4 minutes.
Uh huh.
And Solo and Gunter was actually not a bad kind of like um meat slapping meat kind of thing, but
Yeah.
I was like,
So yeah,
that's
the
not
final
good.
four ends up being Jay Uso versus LA Knight, and as you mentioned,
Mhm.
Gunther versus Solo.
Yeah.
There was no way that Solo was winning.
Mm,
We knew that.
yeah.
The Jay Uso versus LA Knight match was up in the air. I think people were at the point where we were like, really? They're gonna do
Yeah.
Jay Uso versus Gunther in the finals? I which is thankful that they didn't. They had LA
No.
Knight in there. And
Um. Yeah.
it wouldn't have bothered me if LA Knight had won the match.
No, me
But
neither. The way I think about it now, because I remember there was a little moment where I think either Cena teamed with LA Knight in the past, maybe before he announced he was retiring, and they did a
mhm,
thing where basically, oh no, I think it was Cena who was like the guest referee of a match LA Knight
uh,
was in, And
Yeah,
then
I
at
don't
the end,
remember.
Cena held up LA Knight's arm and like gave him one of these. As a, like
Mhm.
as so like anointing him as like the next guy. And I was thought that
Yeah.
was a really cool moment. And I thought,
So
LA
yeah.
Knight being the final opponent was perfect. It was gonna cap that off.
So as everybody knows by now,
Mhm.
Gunther would win this tournament
Yeah.
and go on to face John Cena at the Saturday night's main event that we spoke about that has just happened at time of recording exactly 3 days ago. And the match was fine.
Mhm.
I didn't hate the match at all. In fact, I didn't hate the result either. But we'll get into that right now because this is probably going to be the biggest talking point. So John Cena has no more appearances in between Survivor Series and this match. And Gunther wins the tournament and just does a promo and says, John Cena is the guy that never gives up. Well, I'm going to make him give up. And that's that. And of course, a lot of times when guys say stuff like that, it becomes a very heavy handed thing that does not happen. Because Gunther said it, usually stuff like that doesn't happen. However, so they have the match, and so we talk about all the time how pay-per-views or live events like this wasn't considered a premium live event. This was considered a Saturday night's main event, like special. It was on Peacock in America and YouTube internationally. Um, and there was only 4 matches on the entire show, but the show itself was almost 3 hours because of all of the time in between matches. I think there was like a half hour between the random tag match that didn't need to happen and the main event. And then we get to that main event, which is the John Cena versus Gunther match. And I think a lot of people thought maybe there was a possibility that John Cena was going to win his final match. Maybe just because there's precedent of like, yes, the old timey tradition thing is last match, you go down on your back and put over the guy that beats you. But sometimes legends just win their last match and get to go home with a win. So I think people were up in the air about whether John Cena could possibly win this match. And the match was, like I said, pretty good for what it was. But then we spent like the last 7 minutes of the match going back to chokeholds. And John Cena would power out of it, try to turn it around, try to lock in the horribly executed version of the STF that he does. But Gunther would get out of it and just keep putting the chokehold on. And it got to a point where John Cena just accepted his fate. And instead of fighting it, was like, I've reached the end of my road. There's really no reason for me to fight this anymore. And it was a tap out of acceptance, not a tap out of giving up, just a tap out of like, I don't have it anymore.
Yeah.
And I think that's why it is acceptable. Like, yes, John Cena's mantra throughout his entire career was never give up. It was written on everything, on every single color of a t-shirt.
Yeah.
And before that, he had only tapped out 4 other times. And all of those other times were in 2003.
In the
All
space
of
of a
them.
single year.
All
Right.
of them.
Before the legend of Cena was born, when he was still like the doctor of thugonomics, chicken shit heel.
Yep.
And it was guys like Chris Jericho and was it Chris Benoit?
Jericho, Angle, Benoit, and
I think it was Angle again.
I think it was
Maybe.
Angle twice. It might have been Angle twice,
Yeah.
and Jericho and Benoit.
Yeah.
So yeah, there was a
And that was
precedent
it.
set.
And that was
Yeah,
it. And then
but that was
he
before,
never tapped out after that.
as you said, that was way before he ever adopted the never give up
Yeah.
mantra.
Yeah.
Way before he was well liked. Way
Long
before.
before many of John Cena's current fans were born.
Yes.
Like,
So,
put that in
but
perspective.
then when this match happens and all that happens,
Mm-hmm.
there's points during the match where the chokehold is on and the crowd is chanting, "Don't give up."
Yeah, I heard that.
And I think like at that point I was like, oh, they, because I think at that point I had accepted this is going to be the finish, but like part of me was like, are they going to change this on the fly because they don't want to send the fans home upset? But like, no, they just did what they did, which was like I said, John Cena tapped out, not because he gave up, because he accepted his fate. He knew that it was his last match ever. He's never going to wrestle ever again. And I know that's hard to believe when wrestlers come back all the time, but like I honestly believe that he is truly done. And yeah, John Cena just tapped out. He had a smile on his face while he did it. And yeah, just gave up, and then that was it. And he stayed in the ring after Gunther had celebrated his victory.
Yeah.
Stayed in the ring, and the entire roster came out, surrounded the ring, and CM Punk and Cody Rhodes, the current world heavyweight and WWE championship holders, put their championships on John Cena's shoulders. From what I heard, he did not know this was going to happen. And they just told him to celebrate in each corner with both belts. And then he just gets a standing ovation from the entire roster.
Yep. He gets a hug from Triple H.
Hug from Triple H.
Was laughing hysterically.
Laughing hysterically.
And then Hunter points to the sky, and
yeah,
we're shown a tribute of John with basically his mother and father doing commentary, and it was a very lovely gesture.
Tribute video.
Yeah. And then Cena's last act in the ring was to remove his shoes, remove his wristbands, and remove his armband. He left them in the ring. He walked away. He bowed to the crowd, and there he goes.
Yep. And it has been reported that he is now in a brand ambassador role with the company. And I mean, there's still a chance that like he comes back for one-off appearances and stuff. But as far as everybody in WWE is concerned, he is never going to wrestle a match ever again.
Yeah. I think some people I'm just gonna say I don't know if you agree with this, but a lot of people may think the match was really sluggish, and the way it just ended was just, oh, Gunther doesn't know anything. He's just choking him out. Well, Gunther's a professional wrestler. He's not a sports entertainer. For those of you who are not used to the throwback of a Bruno Sammartino style,
yep,
this is the way wrestling was done before.
That's Gunther's style.
Before the whole Hulk Hogan era of sport entertainment stuff that Vince
Gunther is a pure wrestler.
Yeah, pure wrestling to the 9th degree.
He does a Boston Crab. He does a power bomb. He does a chokehold. Those are his moves. He doesn't do anything flashy. He just does. He does what gets it done, and he has the skills to do those things because he's so good as a standard just wrestler.
So it's very reminiscent of when the Undertaker at WrestleMania 30, the streak was ended by Brock Lesnar, and at the time, we all thought the Undertaker streak, he's undefeated at WrestleMania. He's never going to be defeated at WrestleMania. It just happens, and then you have to think about it. It's like at the time, who legitimately could beat the Undertaker?
Mm-hmm.
At the time, the only person was Brock Lesnar. Someone legitimate was in like MMA, had a career that like real fighting, was a legitimate badass. Like he actually injured the Undertaker. Remember, he had a concussion during
Yep.
that match. Doesn't remember the rest of it. It
Mm-hmm.
just ends, and people were shocked at that time.
Yeah.
Fast forward 20 plus years later, and we're coming to the point where who could legitimately retire John Cena? I mean, LA Knight would have been a nice little happy tribute thing, and we'll all, Cena would be happy to pass on to the next generation. But sometimes it's not like that. It's not like, I don't want to bring up other topics, but we all remember Sting's retirement in AEW. He went out on a great high, and that's
Yeah.
because he knew,
And
because
he didn't
that's
even
because
want.
no, but Tony Khan knew that's what the fans wanted, because
Yeah.
Sting's previous, I guess, last run in this company ended not that bad, well.
Not
So,
that great.
and this was sort of a redemption arc. This one was
Yeah.
this one was the most appropriate, I think, closure to one of the greatest wrestling careers in our time.
Yeah.
Even John smiling and while Gunther's arms are wrapped around him like pythons. You can
Yeah.
meme it as much as you want, like,
Yeah.
but it was just so like just tranquil acceptance. And yeah, like I look back at that tap. Yeah, you're right. It's not a tap of desperation. It's not a tap because he's giving up. It's just a tap because like it's over, guys. I'm done. I would have liked it if Cena did a thing where, like, I don't know, he gave a thumbs up before he tapped out. Or he did it's okay, guys. It's
Yeah.
okay, guys. I love
Well,
you all.
even if he had like said something in the like he could have just been like, "Hey guys, I don't know if you can hear me, but like
Like
I'm at
he could mouth something because the camera was on his
yeah,
face, right?
like I'm at the end. I'm
I
not
love you
giving up.
all. I love you
Yeah,
all. Thank you.
I'm not giving up. I'm just accepting that it's over." And that is completely okay. And obviously Gunther is now to the point.
The
Gunther
most hated man on the planet.
is a super heel at this point because
Dominic
he's
Mysterio is the most popular boy in school compared to this guy.
yeah. And
Don Callis is like a saint
yeah.
compared to
So
Gunther.
we're as I mentioned recording this 3 days after the show.
Yeah.
The night after the first Raw after this event. And Gunther kicks off Raw and comes out and is just booed out of the building like Roman Reigns after WrestleMania 33. But the difference is that Roman Reigns wasn't playing a heel at that point. Roman Reigns was just a guy who beat The Undertaker and wasn't liked. Gunther is eating up the fact that he is the most hated person in WWE right now, and he loves it. And I don't agree with the storyline aspect of this because they made it seem like he murdered somebody. Like, how could you have any? You have some nerve showing up here after winning a match legally. Like, you have some nerve doing what you did out there.
And then he's
Like he
like,
didn't.
you're done for the night. Go home. It's like,
He didn't.
what, for doing my job?
Yeah, I mean, like he basically showed up to gloat, sure, but like you told him to go home because he enjoyed the fact that he won a match. That doesn't make any sense.
You might as well kick out half the roster after a major championship win on a pay-per-view.
Yeah,
Like the whole War Games team, Team Vision, you might just well kick them out because they won.
yeah. So yeah. So as far as legacy goes, John Cena is hands down probably, and you know people call him the GOAT or whatever. As far as WWE goes, he is. He's the franchise player. He's the QB1. He's everything you could think of. He's the MVP. He's the as far in the on in WWE's eyes, he did more than anybody ever. Literally. He did everything and then some. He was the company guy for longer than anybody ever. He was the top guy for longer than anybody ever, and he never ever wavered. Ever.
Yeah, it's so
And
rare. So rare. I don't know if you could ever get anyone like that again.
no,
Like even like we look at their subsequent people. Seth Rollins, he's had his share of babyface heel turns. Roman Reigns was like pushed on as a babyface to the point where he turned heel, and now
mhm,
he's sort of in this in between space. But there's no, and who knows? Like we don't know how Roman Reigns will go for the next 20 years if he stays like this consistent tribal chief face. But it's not the
mhm,
same, right? It's not the same as it really it wouldn't be the same the way John
yeah.
Cena consistently
And
presented
I
himself.
think like so we haven't really talked about this. Like John Cena went on a press tour um in the midst of in the lead up to this match with Gunther. And it was easily like one of the worst press tours ever because John Cena is such a company guy that he won't say anything incriminating ever. So his interviews come off as very robotic and very like one word answered, or he just says the same thing in every question. Like and people will ask him like, oh well, like do you know what the original plan was for your heel turn and all of that? And he's like, oh, it doesn't matter. Everything happens for a reason, and the things happened the way they happened, and it's a lot of that. And that seems to be the problem with John Cena when it comes to press is he doesn't want to divulge things and he doesn't know how to filter himself when talking about Vince McMahon. And like
What do you mean when he doesn't know how to filter himself
he doesn't
when
know how
talking
to
about Vince?
like when it comes to talking about Vince and like people will ask him about the everything,
Mm-hmm.
he'll he'll say stuff like, "Oh, all I know is how he treated me and how he was so good to me and all of that, and maybe this, that, and the other thing, and I don't know, I don't know about this and about this." Well, if you don't know how to answer the question,
Just
then
say
don't
it. I don't know the answer.
answer the question because he comes off as trying to defend the guy when we all know that the guy did some bad stuff. Some very bad stuff.
That was already reported and subsequently out there.
Yeah,
But I think he tried to answer it in the most diplomatic way possible. It's like, look, he was never
yeah,
that way around me. He was never around that way with my wife and my family.
yeah.
It's hard to know. I mean, even though he's almost like a father figure to John, right? Because he helped develop
Mhm,
John's character in the ring and
mhm.
worked with him one of the longest periods of his career. So if everybody would know what Vince is like, I think John Cena would be one of them.
Yeah. So, but yeah, like, as I mentioned, like, and we have talked like offline about like, like the Chris Van Vliet interview. He was asked like to give one word answers about like a list of opponents of his, and he said that Logan Paul was underrated, which is ridiculous. He he said that he got the most emotional when CM Punk apologized to Saudi Arabia for his past comments, which just doesn't come off as sincere at all. Like, but then won't give us anything about like what he thought the plan was for the heel turn and like how he even said in like an interview recently that he wanted to do like 200 dates in this year and they only would give him 36, which is I mean like I don't think any of us would have minded that. Obviously he would have had to clear a lot of his schedule.
It is a strange thing to say, considering he was saying that I'm retiring because my physically I'm coming to a point where I can't keep up with these
Well,
young
I
guys.
can't
And then
imagine
you go
that
and say you want to do 200 dates, like 200. days where you were wrestling every one of those days? Like,
Well, I
or
can't imagine that he would be wrestling on every single one of them. I would imagine if he was to do all of that, he would be on every Raw and every SmackDown
yeah,
and some pay-per-views,
yeah,
but not all.
like a very, it would be a very full year of booking Cena, right? Because that's literally
But and
a
also
full
I
count
think
year,
like if
two
that
hundred
were to be
days.
the case, I think the thing that we got robbed of the most out of this run was the fact that he didn't get to face a lot of people that he never faced before. Like I didn't get to see him face Aleister Black. I didn't get to see him face, you know, Carmelo Hayes.
Mm.
I didn't get to see him face Braun Breaker. I didn't get to see him face Bronson Reed. Like any name that you could think of that you would want to see him face. If he would just he doesn't need to have a storyline for these matches. He could just be like, "Hey, I'm here, guys. Who wants to face me?" And that's
Yeah.
it. But
Well,
yeah.
in order to do that, you need somebody from AEW to have booked John Cena. Because we're talking about
Yeah.
wrestling, we're not talking about entertaining, and like
Uh-huh.
it's WWE. We want nostalgia. Cena Orton Part 37. Oh, Summer of Punk Part 49. Let's go, Cena versus Punk
Yeah.
again. Oh, you want a new guy? Here's hey Logan Paul's here. Logan Paul. He's a big influencer guy.
And he's
Yeah,
gonna
let's go.
face Dominic 4
Dominic
times.
Mysterio, and well, I mean,
Yeah.
technically speaking, Dominic does fit in that category of young rising star, but other than that,
Yeah.
I don't know.
But yeah.
It would have been fun to see him do a tag title run with somebody, and then
Well,
just like,
it just something different. Like obviously they had to pivot with everything that we talked about, but they could have figured out something. But again, 36 dates when you looked at it on paper was not a lot, and a lot of that ended up being in that run that did not work.
mm,
And I imagine like if it was up to him, if he could go back, he won't say it on screen, but I imagine he would have want to change something. But that's just the thing. Like he won't say it on screen, so he just comes off as robotic and company guy whenever you ask him a question about the company. So yeah. But either way, John Cena has had a career that's never been matched. I have been a fan of his since day one. I never wavered on that either. Um, even when he was going through that period when everybody hated him, I did. I never disliked him because I always thought that he was genuine. He was always very good in the ring, despite what people said. And he told stories, even though sometimes those stories didn't go as planned or go the way that they should have.
yeah.
But he,
No,
yeah,
I'll finish your point.
no, and just that I'm very thankful to have lived through his entire career and seen literally all of it. Because to this point, um, I only started watching less WWE in the last 2 years. So I have watched everything that he's done. Literally everything.
I think my last words about John Cena would be this: he was born in guy who came from very humble beginnings. I'm talking more about Johnny Cena as the man rather than not
Mm-hmm.
just him as a wrestler. Came from very humble place. Not exactly a hot spot for like where wrestlers come from. He kind of like really just built himself on nothing almost.
Yep.
And what I'm more impressed, but and yeah, I mean, I don't know if I was a fan at first, but I think I as I got to know him a little more, I really appreciated his not only the what he did in the WWE, but his work ethic. I think whether you cheered him or booed him, you couldn't deny that that man worked hard. He worked his butt off for this craft. and then subsequently wherever his talents took him. Let's not forget, most world record for most wishes granted at the Make a Wish Foundation.
Yep.
Um,
Over
you know,
600.
as somebody who works in some in a capacity that requires me to handle different types of people, for him to do that with like kids who are possibly terminally ill who or who knows what, to be try to be a positive point in their lives, no matter how short or how long that they had, or subsequently how they moved on. It's something to be inspired by, I think. Um, and I hope that the next generation in wrestling industry, whether it's in WWE or elsewhere, can kind of take examples and lessons from what he did and just try to, I guess, as they say, never give up. Hustle and
Mm-hmm.
show loyalty, respect everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
And he
you may
lived
have
by those.
disagreements, but yeah, live by those mantras, and
Yep.
try to leave things in a better way
And
than
let's
you found it.
and also let's not forget like where he, and we didn't even mention this. He came up in the same school in California as Samoa Joe.
Mm.
Like, and the fact that we never got that match is crazy.
Yeah,
Like,
like the fact they were in the same company for a stint, and it was nice for Joe to do that little nod to Cena
yeah.
in a match he had recently with, I think it was Eddie Kingston. I think
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Joe put him in a step over toe hold similar
He
to
an
Cena
STF.
and
Yeah.
STF, and basically,
And he saluted the camera.
yep.
Yep. Yeah, that was really nice of Samoa Joe to do that. I mean, a lot of people have been doing that recently in multiple companies,
Mm.
um, paying tribute to John Cena because, and I mean, you even see it on social media. Like, I see Joshi wrestlers paying tribute to John Cena. I see like people in AEW writing stuff about John Cena. I see TNA, ROH, GCW everywhere. Everybody is paying tribute to John Cena in some way, shape, or form because of what he means to the business as a whole.
Yeah,
For what for
yeah, and I've also forgot to mention that in this last year or maybe even longer, he's really given a lot of advice to new talent. Everybody from not as new, like Drew McIntyre. I remember what he said about how Cena said he should distill what his point is in like one sentence, and like just these little tidbits of advice he kind of sprinkled
yeah,
throughout everybody from like some of his
and
more not as old, right, equals like current guys, to like
and
just literally a 20-year-old girl that just started wrestling, and he goes to Bailey's school of all places,
yes, that's
and
what I
like
was going to
spent like
mention.
God knows how long. I just spent a whole day with these girls that they're just nobody, and I'm not saying nobody, they're just like regular, they just got here, and
Just
here's
these
John
new
Cena of all people showing them out what to do,
Bailey.
or giving them advice.
So for context, Bailey ran this seminar
Hmm.
for
Tyler
only
Breeze at Tyler Breeze's wrestling school.
only for up and coming independent female wrestlers.
Hmm.
And there was actually some people there that we have seen, whether it's in AEW as extras or on GCW or on Wrestling Revolver or Hog or whatever. Just all these independent wrestlers. Freaking Izzy was there. Remember Izzy?
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, Bailey has also gone out of her way to help the business in many ways, especially for women. And yes, John Cena was there for the entire day. And as you mentioned, Tyler Breeze was there, Natty was there, Tyson Kidd was there. Um, yeah, and John Cena went out of his way to do that also. So he isn't about. He's not like those old timey veterans who don't want to give back. He's always going to be giving back, even if he's not on TV anymore. Because obviously he's going to go back into acting full time.
Yep. We mentioned that he signed a 5-year extension as a brand ambassador.
Yep.
They would be crazy to let him just run off after 5 years. This is someone
Oh,
with like the experience that
he's
Cena
gonna
can bring
he's
backstage to
he's gonna
whoever.
have ties to this company forever.
Hmm.
There's no chance of like after that ambassador deal is up that they don't just put him on a
Yeah,
Legends deal or another ambassador deal. And as you mentioned, he's going to be a quote unquote first ballot Hall of Famer. WWE Hall of Fame doesn't really have ballots, but yeah. Uh, so I think we're going to call it there. We've spent almost 2 hours talking about the life and career of, hands down, probably the greatest of all time in WWE, John Cena. And we are very thankful to have witnessed and be a part of his career as a whole. And yes, we will see what is next for him, whether it's, more big movie roles, bringing back Peacemaker, I'm sure, at some point.
I actually
Um,
enjoyed that series.
I love Peacemaker. I think it's great. And yeah, that is going to do it for us. And
Mhm.
before we get to the sign off, I just wanted to mention our next couple of shows are pretty much set in stone. Our next podcast will be the World's End Review. And then after that, probably our first podcast of the new year will be our year end awards, our top 5 wrestlers and matches for both the men and women, like we do every year. So that is going to do it for us. Make sure to go to our linktree / going over big time podcast, where it has all of our social medias, ways to watch and listen to this podcast, as well as social media for the podcast itself. And we say all the time, watch the wrestling you want to watch. But I'm going to say right now, go out and watch some of John Cena's greatest matches, because there are some real bangers in there.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's going to do it for me. Alan, your closing thoughts.
You basically summed it up. All I have left to say is thank you, John, for all the memories. Really, really appreciate it.
All right, that's going to do it, everybody. Thank you. Have a good one.